Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. This is Dugan Messman at 6:41 p.m. June 15th. We are going live. And I was just thinking about something. In America, people buy guns because they're thinking about somebody that's coming, right? Like, that there's a future threat that I might want to deal with, and I want to deal with that with a gun. Like, why else would you buy a gun, really? Do you buy a gun just to have? Like, in America, there are very loose gun laws compared to a lot of other countries. But those gun laws also are there because a lot of people fucking want guns. Like, I talked to this guy from my high school the other day. He was like, yeah, like, I have an AR. And I asked him, oh, yo, what do you use it for? And he was like, oh, it's for my protection. Like, he doesn't go to a range really and shoot this gun. He has it because he wants to protect himself from something or someone. Which is crazy to me. I have never once been in my life in a situation where I'm like, damn, I want a gun right now. You know? Like, oh, dude, I could have used a gun at the grocery store. Like, what? Who could use a gun at the grocery store? People bring their guns to the grocery store. Why do you, like... People just, like, have guns, like, in their cars and stuff. I have never even thought once that, oh man, I need a gun. Or would even want one. And that concept of a person like that is just so foreign to me. Because I've never met that person in my life. You know? And thinking about it, the way that I grew up was just so different than the way that these people grew up. Like, growing up in Arlington, Virginia is very different than growing up in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Which is very different than growing up in Chicago, Illinois. Which is very different than growing up in Los Angeles, California. There's very different than growing up in Mobile, Alabama. You know? There are so many people in this country that have so many different lives. And, you know, basically, what that culminates in is how they vote. Essentially, when it gets down to it, you have an opinion on the government. If it's either you have one or you don't have one. If you do have an opinion on the government, that's a certain, you know, type of person. There's other people that just don't care. Some people that vote, but that's all an opinion. Choosing not to be involved in politics is like an opinion of it in and of itself. It's not just saying, oh no. You know, it's more than that. But when you start thinking about the world in this way, it's a lot easier, I think, to be, you know, a good person. I am of the belief that, you know, you kind of have a duty to be respectful to your fellow humans. You have like a duty as a human being. And because we are animals that took over this planet, and we wear clothes, and we have schools and stuff, like, you have to act a certain way. And be respectful of those around you. And by being respectful, like, generally being courteous. I feel like so many people are just dicks to each other. People just, like, if you've, like, watched anything that's been happening at these NBA games, and fans getting kicked out for throwing shit at people, and starting fights, like, why are you doing that? Like, that guy who got, like, kicked out of a stadium for fighting somebody, I think it was like the Suns or something like that. He got kicked out for fighting dudes. How do you live your life up to that point, going to a stadium and fighting people at an NBA game. What is that's like out of the ordinary stuff. Like, I wouldn't just go down to an NBA game and start a fight. You know? A fight has to be started, and it also has to be ended, but it also, somebody has to make the decision, okay, I'm going to start a fight. What human being does that? That's not somebody who's, like, in their right mind, basically. And there's just been so many instances of that in America. And I think, for that matter, I don't know if there are a lot, I'm sure there are more because of the internet and stuff, but we can just see them so much better. I'm sure there's people around the country, like in the 50s, that were fucking their lives up, but nobody knew about it. You know? Now we can know about it, like, through Facebook and stuff. Be like, oh man, that person is, like, going crazy because people have phones. Like, dude, if this thing in, I think Arizona is where it was, and I lived here in Arlington, I wouldn't know shit about it, probably, except from a newspaper. But now I can, like, see a video of it, of this guy just, like, getting in a fight, you know? That's just such a niche thing that everybody can, like, see in, like, an instant. And that's what makes me think that this is, like, the future, you know? But as a result, like, on a large scale, we all are seeing stuff so fast. And our opinions can change so fast. And, like, literally the George Floyd protests happened so fast. And, oh my god, I'm not going to start on that. That might be for another time. But it's just so weird because we live a lot more of our lives at home now, obviously, because we're just getting out of the pandemic where everybody lived at home. You know, people weren't, like, out and about, and I think we're slowly getting back to that. I think people are out of the house a lot now, but I think it's good. Yeah, I think people should socialize. I think when people stick to the internet too long, they get in their own world. Because literally, they fucking program it to be so you're in your own world. Like, if you do a Google search with somebody else, and somebody else types in the same words on a Google search, you won't get the same top results. Because they cater it to you. Which I think is fucked. I think they should make it just straight on. Like, there's no personalization for Google searches, because I think that's really fucked. Because that's when you're like, oh shit, the top result is fucking Ben Shapiro. Like, oh, this must be, like, legit. Like, I mean, I don't know. I just hate Ben Shapiro with all my heart. But all these guys are, like, Eastern European. It's kind of cool. They're, like, just fucking ripped Eastern Europe. What is this? Oh, Lithuania? Thomas Kuzmikas? Alright, well, I think that's gonna end it. It is 6:51. Peace.